After my son's amazing transformation, I was kicked out. What I discovered next left them speechless. Sarah's heart plummeted like a stone as the crowd roared. Ethan stood there long, lithe, and bursting with talent as he executed a perfect layup, the basketball swishing through the net like a sweet promise. In that moment, he was everything she wished for, everything she sacrificed for. Yet, amid the applause ringing in her ears, a chilling emptiness echoed louder. This wasn't the little boy she once held close. It felt as if he was slipping further away with every cheer from the crowd. Ethan never seemed to mind their tight budget, their worn-out furniture, the creaky floors, the modest meals. The newly earned spot on the high school basketball team, however, cast an unforgiving light on their lives, exposing every crack. Those scenes of pride turned stinging when she saw the glances thrown their way from the other parents. Those who previously overlooked them now wore shiny smiles and whispered behind her back, sizing her up against their wealth. It was unsettling. The reality of being a single mother in Maplewood, where charm masked a deeper divide, was sinking in. As more time passed with Ethan mingling with these new friends, a gnawing jealousy began to weave its way into her heart. Could he forget her? She could already feel the distance growing, like a chasm forming between them. Wasn't he supposed to believe in her? When Ethan asked her to leave, her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. How could he? The silence hung heavy in their once vibrant home, filled now only by the memories of laughter and love. Sarah wandered through Maplewood, a ghost in her own life, her tight chest and stinging eyes mirrored by the echoes of painful isolation. She stumbled upon the community center, a place where other single parents shared stories laced with struggle and resilience. There, she found a sense of belonging, a healing balm for her soul. Together, they consoled each other, sparked new friendships, and discovered strength in their shared battles. Each encounter chipped away at the weight of her heartbreak, igniting the fading embers of her ambition. They banded together to improve their underfunded neighborhood, striving to give kids like Ethan opportunities they desperately needed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The community's pulse quickened as they prepared for a critical fundraiser to support the center, the heart of so many disenfranchised families. Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose washing over her. She was finally reclaiming her voice, rallying those around her to recognize the worth of every child, no matter their background. But then, the setbacks appeared. A new elite fundraiser meant to laud Ethan's basketball success excluded her entirely. Could it be? Was this the manifestation of Ethan's new world pushing her out? The betrayal simmered, yet it was tangled in a mother's love and longing. As she watched him from the sidelines, laughter and camaraderie shared with others felt like daggers, reminding her of the chasm that had grown between them. With uncertainty settling in, fear clawed at her heart. Is this what it meant to belong? Could winning over the community mean losing her son? In one moment, everything was unwinding, and she stood on the precipice, teetering between despair and newfound hope. Would she find a way to bridge the gaps? Would she muster the courage to step forward? An overwhelming weight pressed down, leaving one haunting question in the air: would it be too late for them? Sarah spent the following days caught in a foggy haze, the life she had known unraveling thread by thread. The community center's walls echoed with laughter and resilience, but her heart was elsewhere. She felt like an outsider in her own home, her son engaged in a brilliant new life without her, and she couldn't shake the looming dread that their connection was withering like old leaves in fall. The night of the elite fundraiser finally arrived. Invitations adorned with gold lettering shimmered under the soft glow of lights. Sarah felt like an unwelcome ghost, watching from a distance. She arrived early, drawn by a need to see her boy in his element. As she peered through the window, she spotted Ethan surrounded by kids and parents so full of life, so far removed from the struggles that had once bonded them. Her heart twisted as she saw him smile, his laughter ringing like music through the air, but every burst of joy felt like a blow. Why was she still clinging to hopes of him feeling the same way about her? The fear tightened in her chest. What if he no longer needed her? Then she noticed him glance toward the entrance, his smile faltering as he spotted her. For a fleeting second, his expression shifted, and her breath hitched. Did he want her there or wish she would just blend into the crowd? The moment stretched infinitely, the world behind her fading, focused only on that moment of connection. Suddenly, a parent approached Ethan, hand extended, praises flowing like a river. The scene morphed into a montage of fleeting affections and accolades, a kaleidoscope of acceptance Ethan now wore like a crown, leaving her feeling like an intruder in a world designed for others. A sharp pang of sadness swept through her. The thought surged, wouldn't it be easier for him to let go of the past? To only look forward, surrounded by those who truly understood him. Clenching her fists, she turned on her heels. She needed air. As she stepped outside, the cool night breeze kissed her cheeks, refreshing yet biting. Her thoughts raced, tangled like the branches of the trees overhead. How had they gotten here? Was this the price of his success? More importantly, was she willing to pay it? A hollow feeling in her chest roared louder than the event behind her, challenging her resolve. Just then, she heard voices approaching. The two other mothers from the center emerged, their faces lit with purpose. They called to her, and for the first time, she felt buoyed by the weight of friendship. "Sarah, come join us. We've got ideas we think you'd love." Their enthusiasm sparked a flicker of hope inside her. Maybe there was a path forward, something they could build together. "We want to help you connect with Ethan again," one of them said, her sincerity threading through Sarah's defenses. But what could they possibly do? The rift had grown so wide. Would it even matter? As they stood out there in the cool night, amidst whispers of plans and dreams, Sarah felt the flickering ember of a new idea taking shape in her mind. What if she could turn the chasm into a bridge? She took a deep breath, determination spiraling through her. Not just for her, but for all the kids like Ethan, the ones who needed someone fighting for them. Their laughter faded back into the warmth of the fundraiser behind her, but she found strength in the support at her side. As her heart began to steady, she realized perhaps it wasn't too late after all, but as she turned back to face the gathering crowd, a question burned intensely: would she have the strength to face the very world that felt like it had pushed her away? And as she stepped inside that bright hall, she knew a pivotal moment was about to unfold. Would it bring her and Ethan back together, or signify the last thread snapping between them? The vibrant lights of the hall wrapped around Sarah as she stepped back inside, illuminating the swirling crowd of elegantly dressed parents and children. Each laugh felt like a reminder of what she had lost, yet beneath her uncertainty, a tiny flame of resolve flickered. She wasn't ready to give up. Not now. "Sarah!" one of the mothers called out. It was Lisa, a familiar face from the community center, her smile wide and inviting. "I'm so glad you came back inside. We've been brainstorming some really great ideas to get parents involved more with the kids' activities. You need to be a part of it." Sarah felt a surge of gratitude for Lisa's enthusiasm, yet doubt still clung to her thoughts. What if they don't want me? What if Ethan? She let her words trail off. "Your presence matters, Sarah. Kids need to know that someone believes in them, and you have always been that person for Ethan. Just think of how far he has come with your support." Lisa's eyes met hers, urging her to see the truth she was too clouded to recognize. Ethan caught Sarah's eye again, and this time, the warmth fading from his smile was replaced with something else, a spark of recognition. Her heart leaped. Did he acknowledge her presence? She took a step forward, her mind racing. What could she say? What could she do to reconnect with him? As Sarah approached, pausing amongst the bright decorations and the hum of conversation, the world melted into a blur. She could only see her son. He was laughing and playing, a vibrant part of this sparkling world. Was she too late to snatch away the space between them? "Hey, Ethan!" She called out, forcing a lightness into her voice, hoping it would mask her fear. The laughter quieted as Ethan turned around, his eyes widening in surprise. "Mom." There was a hint of uncertainty in his voice, the once familiar warmth now tinged with hesitance. "What are you doing here?" His reaction stung, yet there was no hiding the flicker of hope lighting deep inside. "I wanted to see you." "I'm so proud of you," she said, desperately trying to keep her voice steady. "You've accomplished so much." His gaze flickered toward the others, then back at her. For a moment, they stood there, the space around them fading, their past pressing painfully at their hearts. "Thanks," but Ethan hesitated, searching for words. "I didn't expect you to come tonight," not after his voice trailed off. That single unfinished sentence spoke volumes. "I know I've been absent, but I'm trying to change that," Sarah said, her sincerity wrapping around them like a warm blanket. "I want to be part of your life again. I need to be part of your world." Ethan's brow furrowed, and Sarah could see the struggle within him, the conflict of feelings fighting for dominance. Before he could respond, another parent approached, waving excitedly at Ethan with a question. Sarah felt the space between them stretch again, that unspoken barrier creeping back. Sarah's heart sank, but she found herself unwilling to let go. "Ethan, can we talk later? Just you and me?" she asked, her breath catching in her throat. He nodded reluctantly, though the hesitation never left his eyes. They were two people standing at opposite ends of a bridge, unsure whether to meet in the middle or retreat back to the safety of familiar ground. As Ethan stepped away, Sarah felt the warmth of the other mothers beside her again. Lisa whispered encouragingly, "You did good, Sarah. That was brave." But a heaviness lay in her chest, causing her pulse to quicken. "What if he's not ready?" "Then you keep on showing up," Lisa replied firmly. "You'll be there, and eventually, he'll want to come back too." Sarah watched as Ethan engaged with his peers, the laughter spilling out of him like joyful confetti. She held on to the glimmer of hope, but a lingering doubt whispered, what if he was right? What if the world around them had already written their story, and she was just a character fading into the background? As she stood there, amidst an atmosphere thick with celebration, she knew this moment was only the beginning. The question remained, could they build a new story together, or was the time lost forever? And when fear clawed at her heart again, intertwined with the lingering hope, what if this reunion was just the first step toward an unbridgeable distance? As Sarah stood there, the vibrant energy of the hall seemed to swirl around her, wrapping her in uncertainty. She felt both the buzz of excitement and the ache of loss, like a cotton candy spine tingling against her skin. Ethan, caught in a laughter-filled bubble with his friends, was exactly what she wanted, yet he felt miles away. "Mommy!" A tiny voice broke through her reverie. It was a little girl with blonde curls, tugging at her dress. "Are you going to play with us?" The innocent question struck Sarah like a splash of cold water. She smiled down at the girl, feeling the warmth of her youth seep into the frayed edges of her heart. "I'm a little busy right now, sweetheart," she replied softly. "Okay." The girl skipped away, leaving Sarah standing in a crowd bustling with joy. But all she could see was Ethan and the bright smile he wore when they played board games on the living room floor. So different from what now felt like the gaping chasm between them. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Sarah forced herself to move, leaving behind the warmth of the crowd at the refreshments table. She made her way outside, where the night air felt refreshing against her skin. The stars twinkled high above, each one a hopeful beacon challenging the darkness inside her soul. She checked her watch, glancing back at the hall. Ethan would wrap up with his friends soon. The thought churned in her stomach. What if their talk only brought more pain? She had built a shell around herself to endure the hurt, but now she was willing to crack it open if only he would take the first step. "Take a risk, Sarah," she whispered to herself, absorbing the cool air deeply, allowing it to fill her with resolve. With each breath, she felt a bit stronger, a little more like the mother she wanted to be. Just then, she spotted Lisa stepping outside, her face glowing with delight. "Hey! What are you doing out here?" The games are ending, she said brightly. Sarah managed a half smile. Just gathering some courage. I'm about to talk to Ethan. Lisa noticed the tremor in her voice. You're doing great. Just be honest with him. He'll appreciate that more than anything. With one final nod from Lisa, Sarah turned her attention back to the hall, the chatter and laughter spilling out like a warm embrace. The front door swung open, and a wave of children raced out, laughter trailing behind them as Ethan sauntered at the back, his eyes scanning the crowd. That small tilt of his head sent her heart racing. Ethan! She called, taking small but purposeful steps toward him. The buzz of excitement dulled around her as she sensed the weight of the moment, the importance of her words lingering like a fragile promise. His eyes met hers, hesitant but searching. The distance of uncertainty still lingered, but she saw a flicker of something else, a tentative willingness to engage. Hey, Mom, he started, awkwardly shuffling his feet, as though the very ground beneath them carried the weight of their unspoken feelings. Can we talk? She asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He looked past her for a moment, then back again, as if weighed down by indecision. I guess yeah. The simple acknowledgement felt like the first step across a bridge that had seemed too worn and weak to cross before. They began walking together, a new energy rippling between them. Sarah wanted to pour out everything, the regrets, the lessons learned, the endless love she carried. But she knew the importance of listening had to come first. Ethan broke the silence. I didn't think you'd show up. I thought maybe. The words hung in the air, heavy with unsaid truths. You thought maybe I didn't care? She interjected gently. He nodded, a small sigh escaping his lips. I just didn't know if you wanted to be involved anymore. Her heart twisted painfully. I didn't realize how much I missed you until now. Ethan stopped, the look on his face shifting from uncertainty to something softer. It's just hard, everything feels different. It is different, she agreed. But we can figure it out together, if you're willing. They stood facing each other now, each breath magnifying the fragile connection they were trying to rebuild. The ache of the past still lingered, but hope blossomed like a wildflower pushing through the cracks. But then a loud cheer erupted from inside the hall, drawing them back to the reality surrounding them. What's next for us? Sarah thought, her heart fluttering between hope and fear. What more would they learn about each other this time? As Ethan looked back toward the celebrations, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if this was a dance of rediscovery or simply a momentary pause before they both faced the music of their shared past. Sarah took a step closer to Ethan, the cheer from the hall fading slightly as the distant echoes of joyous laughter filled the spaces between them. She could feel the tension still lingering, but the air buzzed with a new energy, hope, perhaps. What do you want, Ethan? She asked, her voice soft but steady. It was a simple question, yet it felt heavy with layers of meaning, so much unspoken floating just above their heads that he shrugged, a gesture that seemed too casual for the moment they shared. I don't know. I guess I just want to understand us better. It's been hard. Sarah swallowed hard, the words catching in her throat. I know it has. I've been trying to find my way back to you. Every day, every minute. Her voice trailed off, the rawness of her vulnerability threatening to bubble over. I see you trying, Ethan admitted, his gaze reluctant but persistent. It's just, can we really fix this? It feels like so much has happened. That impossible chasm between them tugged at Sarah's heart. I know, and I can't change the past, but I want to be here now. I want to be your mom, Ethan. He finally met her eyes fully. I see you searching for the right words, but sometimes it feels like you're putting on a show for me. I want the real you. The truth in his words struck her. She had spent so much time trying to craft her response, careful to anticipate his reactions, that she lost sight of being genuine. Okay, I'll show you the real me then. I'm scared, Ethan. Scared of losing you even more. His expression softened. Maybe I'm scared too. Scared that if we dig too deep, we might have to face things we're not ready for. Then let us take it slow, she suggested, her heart racing as a new path opened before them. No more pretending. We can share our fears and what we're hoping for, one step at a time. Ethan nodded slowly, the challenge slowly transforming into something they could navigate together. Okay. One step at a time, he echoed, his voice steadier now with conviction. Just then, a group of kids burst through the hall's door, their laughter spilling out like ribbons in the wind. Ethan glanced back, laughter still radiating from the party, while Sarah felt the bittersweet tinge of longing. So much had changed, and yet the joy remained. Do you want to join them? She asked, pointing toward the crowd. Yeah, but he hesitated, looking uncertain again. But? Sarah pressed gently, not wanting him to retreat into his shell. What if I don't know how to play like I used to? He admitted, a whisper of vulnerability cracking through the confidence he tried to wear. Sarah reached out instinctively, placing her hand on his arm. You don't have to be perfect, Ethan. It's okay to be yourself, however that looks. Just show up. He glanced down at her hand, then looked back at her, a flicker of a smile breaking through. It was small, but enough to light something in her heart. What if you come with me? Just like old times. Hope flared in Sarah's chest. I'd love that. Ethan began to lead her back toward the laughter, but as they crossed the threshold into the hall, Sarah felt the weight of 1,000 what-ifs still lingering in the air. Before stepping inside, Ethan turned to her again. Just promise me something. What? Promise me that whatever happens, we keep talking. No matter how hard it gets. Her heart swelled. I promise. As they slid into the warm embrace of the gathered crowd, Sarah felt a new beginning beckoning. She dared to believe they could weather the storm together. But even as the music swelled and the joy enveloped them, a gnawing thought flickered at the edge of her mind. What if the past refused to stay buried? What if it came back to haunt them both? The next hour felt like a patchwork of laughter and moments of watching Ethan engage with old friends, yet behind the exuberant moments lurked shadows from the past. One strong pulse of uncertainty throbbed in her chest. Will our fragile trust hold as we begin to weave our way through this maze together? Sarah wondered. Little did she know, a revelation was waiting just around the corner, poised to challenge everything they had started to rebuild. What was hiding in the depths of that celebration, ready to break loose? The pulsating beats of the music wrapped around Sarah as she stepped into the crowd, Ethan at her side. The laughter of other kids reached her ears, mingling with the vibrant energy that filled the hall, but it felt oddly distant, almost muffled. Simultaneously welcoming and overwhelming, the atmosphere tugged at her heartstrings. She was both present and acutely aware of the fragile thread connecting her and Ethan. She watched as he mingled, slowly unfolding like a flower blooming after the harshest winter. The awkwardness he carried moments before slipped away, replaced by flickers of confidence. He laughed with his friends, exchanging inside jokes that made her grin. Each chuckle and cheer from Ethan washed away a flake of her worry, but the shadows she sensed in the corners of her mind couldn't be easily dismissed. While Ethan darted from one group to another, Sarah found herself hovering at the edge of the dance floor, amusement fighting with anxiety. She could see joy radiating from the kids, but could they truly reclaim their joys together, or would the past always cast its shadow? Just then, she caught a glimpse of someone she hadn't expected to see: Andrew, Ethan's father, striding into the hall with the kind of confidence that felt both familiar and unwelcome. The joyful aura around her fizzled, replaced by a wave of apprehension. She had hoped their interactions would be less complicated, but the thought of facing him here, amidst laughter and cheer, sent ripples of disquiet through her. Andrew spotted her and a flicker of surprise crossed his face. He offered an awkward wave before aiming to approach, but a rush of voices caught his attention. Suddenly, he was drawn into a conversation, leaving her to grapple with her unease. Ethan, oblivious as he laughed with his friends, appeared free, blissfully unaware of the tension spiraling around the two adults he loved. Keeping her composure felt like an uphill battle. Sarah's gaze followed Andrew, who spoke to some other parents, his expression animated. They laughed, gestures broad and inviting. For a moment she felt tethered to past memories, moments of laughter and warmth that had once encapsulated their family. And yet, the heartache of everything that had shattered between them loomed larger. "Mom!" Ethan's voice broke through her reverie, and she turned to see him standing next to her, uncertainty noticeably shadowing his expression. "Are you okay?" His question startled her, sending a shiver down her spine. She kept her tone light, trying to mask the swirling anxieties within. "Of course. Just, lost in thought. You look like you're having fun. Want to join your friends?" His brows knitted for a moment. I think I want to stay with you a bit longer." "All right," she smiled, her heart swelling. "We can just be here together, like old times." As the kids continued dancing, Sarah caught a glimpse of Andrew across the room again. This time, he was looking directly at her, eyes searching. She felt the weight of their shared past pressing down like a heavy cloak. The unspoken words hung in the air, waiting to be addressed, but just then, a sudden loud commotion echoed in the hall. A group of kids squealed in delight, pointing toward a side door where sparkles of confetti began to drift into the air, remnants from a surprise celebration they hadn't anticipated. The atmosphere shifted, excitement filling the room. Ethan's eyes widened with childlike wonder. "Mom, can we see what's happening?" Sarah nodded, urging herself to push through the nervousness. She took his hand, and together they forged their way through the eager crowd. The connection felt solid, a lifeline pulling her back from the brink of her worries. When they reached the doorway, what greeted them was a world of swirling colors and exuberance. Yet, amid the overwhelming joy, Sarah's heart raced at the thought of Andrew entering the chaos. Would their past come roaring back as they stood here, faces masked in laughter? "Let us enjoy this together," she whispered, trying to drown out her fears. As they stepped further in, the confetti began to fall like soft rain, bathing them in a dreamlike quality. Suddenly, Sarah knew, this moment was fragile, yet it held tremendous potential. But the echoes of their past felt like whispers in the wind, and with one glance toward Andrew, uncertainty began to crawl back. Would this celebration be a new beginning or a stark reminder of what they had lost? Just as Sarah was pulled deeper into the joy, the music shifted, and a hush fell over the place. She felt the air charge with a moment poised to erupt, ready to break the surface. Would they all confront the truth that awaited, or would it tear them further apart? The silence that swept over the room was tangible, a momentary pause steeped in anticipation. Sarah's heart raced, uncertainty brewing like a storm. She wanted to believe that tonight was a fresh page, a chance to rewrite their story. But as the music dimmed, reality settled in. The past wasn't so easily forgotten. Ethan squeezed her hand, glancing up at her, his innocent excitement still glowing. "What's happening, Mom?" he asked, eyes wide, his trust in her unwavering. "I'm not sure, sweetheart. Let us wait and see," she replied, masking her own uncertainties with a smile. The quiet stretched, and she found herself searching the crowd, desperately hoping to find a distraction. Yet her gaze inevitably landed back on Andrew, who stood as a beacon in the sea of vibrant energy around them. As the chatter faded into anxious whispers, a figure stepped onto the makeshift stage, a bright spotlight illuminating their face. It was one of Ethan's teachers, holding a microphone, radiating enthusiasm. "Hey everyone! We have a special surprise for you tonight." The growing murmur of the crowd shifted, anticipation building again. "Is it a game?" Ethan's excitement renewed, his eyes sparkling. "Maybe," Sarah said, struggling to shake off her own worries. "Let us listen." The teacher cleared her throat, and the room quieted to a pin drop. "It's time to celebrate the incredible achievements of our students." Applause rippled through the audience, and Ethan bounced on his toes. Suddenly, the air felt lighter, infused with hope. "Today, we are unveiling a special recognition for one amazing student who has shown extraordinary courage and resilience this year. Tension prickled Sarah's skin. She hadn't expected any recognition, least of all for Ethan. Her heart squeezed, could he really be the one to be honored? This student has not only faced challenges but has also inspired others with their kindness and determination. Ethan's name echoed through the hall, and Sarah's breath hitched. He was called to the stage, his face blooming with astonishment. What? Me? He whispered, disbelief dancing in his eyes. Yes, you. Sarah grinned, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes as she squeezed his hand tighter. Go on, honey. You deserve it. As Ethan climbed the few steps to the stage, a wave of pride washed over her. The crowd erupted in applause, the energy pulsating with enthusiasm. For a moment, everything faded: the past, the worries, and even Andrew. It was a celebration of Ethan, a tribute to the strength they had learned to harness together. On stage, the teacher embraced Ethan, placing a shiny medal around his neck. He beamed, a light radiating from him that sent sparks of joy through her heart. Being on that stage, accepting the recognition, wouldn't just change how others saw him, it might change how he saw himself. But as the applause echoed and cheers surged, Sarah's eyes drifted to Andrew. His expression was unreadable as he stood on the edge of the crowd. She felt a pulse of anxiety. This should be a moment of glory, yet his presence hadn't dissipated her unease. Mom! Ethan called, his voice cutting through the cheers. Will you come up here with me? Her breath stuck in her throat. He wanted her beside him, a part of this moment. Every instinct screamed at her to rush to him, but a part of her hesitated, rooted in the tangled history of their family. Should she share this with Andrew? Just as she began to move, the teacher caught her eye. Come on up, Sarah. Let us celebrate together. The warmth of the room swelled with encouragement, but Sarah's heart pounded harder. Would this recognition be a bridge between them, or would it just highlight the distance that lingered? As she stepped toward the stage, feet heavy with uncertainty but propelled by love, a thought darted through her mind: was she ready for what came next? And with one glance back at Andrew, she dared to hope for more than just a celebration. Perhaps this moment could spark something deeper. The spotlight felt blinding as Sarah stepped onto the stage, her heart hammering in her chest. The applause washed over her like a warm wave, but doubt coiled in her stomach. She hadn't anticipated this. Ethan stood tall, the medal glinting around his neck like a badge of honor. The smile on his face was everything she hoped for, a beacon of joy that lit up her surroundings. But at that moment, standing next to him, her gaze flicked back to Andrew. He was still there, arms crossed, his expression inscrutable. Did he feel proud? Angry? Mom, look! Ethan tugged at her, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. The teacher nudged them to the center of the stage, and she felt the warmth of his hand clutching hers tightly. He was thriving in this moment, and she couldn't let her fears steal that away from him. Let us all give a round of applause to Ethan for his incredible achievement. The teacher's voice rang out, and the crowd roared in agreement. They were a little family again, standing together, her and Ethan, basking in the light of a moment that felt so pure. She beamed at him, her pride swelling. You did it, my love. She whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But as the applause echoed in her ears, Sarah couldn't ignore the shifting current between her and Andrew. He stood at the edge of the venue, the brightness around them contrasting sharply with the tension pulsing between them. Then, right in the center of this joyous occasion, a realization struck her like lightning. What if this was more than just recognition for Ethan? What if it was a chance to bridge the gap between her and Andrew? The ceremony unfolded with more presentations and congratulations. Ethan, now fully immersed in the moment, thanked his teacher and friends with a huge grin. Yet Sarah felt herself drifting, her focus torn between the honor Ethan received and Andrew's quiet intensity. When the ceremony wrapped, the crowd began to disperse, but Sarah stayed rooted to the spot. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, something deep inside urging her to act. She didn't want to face Andrew empty-handed. Ethan, honey, can you give me a minute? She asked, kneeling down to be at eye level with him. Can I pick the game next? He questioned, his energy bubbling over. Of course. She promised, ruffling his hair. Just give me a moment with Andrew. Ethan nodded, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he ran off to find his friends. Taking a deep breath, Sarah slowly approached Andrew, her heart racing. The chatter around her faded into a dull roar. This confrontation felt monumental, charged with an energy that could either heal or deepen their divide. Andrew, she began, searching for the right words while her insides twisted. I think we need to talk. His eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of apprehension flashing behind them. Talk? About what? You just celebrated your son's achievement. Yes, and it's amazing. But our struggles don't just vanish because of one moment, do they? He shifted, frustration brewing in his stance. And what do you think this is? Some fairy tale? One medal, one tea erased the past. Her heart sank, but she pressed on. You're right, it one tea. But it can show us it's possible to move forward. To be better, together. For a moment, they stood in silence, tension weaving around them like an invisible thread. Sarah's determination began to waver. Could she convince him that change was possible? Then, just as she felt the hope flickering, Andrew took a step back, shaking his head slightly. It's not that simple, Sarah. You can't just wish it away. She swallowed, suddenly feeling small, a wave of vulnerability crashing over her. Perhaps all hope rested on this fragile moment. But what if tonight proves that it can start with something simple, with just being honest? Andrew's eyes widened, the intensity flickering from rage to uncertainty. Honest? About what? About us, what we've been through, and how it's shaped who we are. Ethan deserves to see us, not just at events, but in our true selves, she urged, her voice barely a whisper, before he could respond. A thunderous cheer erupted in the gathering crowd as Ethan and his friends rallied around a nearby game booth, giggling and chattering. A moment of levity, a stark contrast to the heaviness between her and Andrew. As Sarah's gaze drifted over to Ethan, a thought struck her fiercely. Could this new chapter open the door to not just a better relationship for them, but a fresh start for their little family? Andrew looked back at her, an unreadable expression crossing his face. Sarah, are you sure you want to do this? The truth hung in the air, heavy like a sentence waiting to be executed. Could they really embark on this journey together? And as she stood there, heart racing, she realized she'd never been more terrified yet hopeful at the same time. So, where do we begin? Sarah asked, locking eyes with Andrew, her breath catching in anticipation. What if this was the moment that changed everything, or what if it led to an unraveling they couldn't foresee? The laughter and chatter of children echoed like a distant melody, but for Sarah, the world had narrowed to just her and Andrew. She felt her heart thudding hard against her ribcage as she searched his gaze for answers, for a hint of what he was thinking. Where do we start? Andrew echoed back, a hint of challenge in his tone. It felt as if her question had opened a door, but was he prepared to step through? There's so much that's unsaid. She took a step closer, hoping to bridge the distance between them. We've been skating on the surface, Andrew. I want to dig deeper. For Ethan. His expression softened just a fraction, yet doubt lingered. And what if we find something we can't handle? A shiver of apprehension coursed through her. We've faced hardships before. I think, together, we can handle anything. The weight of that promise hung in the air, heavy yet filled with the spark of possibility. She could see Andrew wavering, the tension in his shoulders easing as he considered her words. All right, he finally said, but there was a caution in his voice. Let us talk. But this isn't just going to be about feelings and resolutions, it's going to hurt. Good. Let's be real. She nodded, willing to wade into the depths of their past, the emotions they had both buried under layers of misunderstandings and unsaid words. They moved to a quieter corner away from the crowd, the chatter dimming to a buzz. Sarah could now hear the gentle thud of her heart against the backdrop of an uncertain future, remembering all the times they had drifted apart, just barely brushing against each other's lives. "How did we get here?" she whispered, the question slipping from her lips like a fragile secret. Andrew ran a hand through his hair, his eyes fixed on the ground. "I guess we let life happen to us instead of living it together," he admitted. "I pushed away while you convinced yourself everything would be fine." "Pushed away?" "I felt like I was often the one fighting for us," she replied, a frown knotting her brow. "I wanted us to be a family, but it was like talking to a wall sometimes. Maybe because I couldn't face my own failures. I didn't want to drag you down with me," he muttered, regret written all over his face. His admission struck her hard. It was something she had suspected, buried in the back of her mind. "All those times I thought it was just me trying to hold us together, you were carrying your own heaviness. I had no idea you felt that way." A thick silence enveloped them, both grappling with the past. They had spoken in circles for so long, but perhaps this raw honesty was the catalyst they needed. The smallness in her chest eclipsed by the flicker of strength building inside. "What do you want, Sarah?" Andrew's eyes met hers, steady yet uncertain. "What do you really want for us?" For a moment, the world around them fell away. "I want to remember why we fell in love, the dreams we had. I want Ethan to know us as a team, working together, not just coexisting." His brow furrowed, a deep thought process swirling behind those rich brown eyes. "And if we can't go back there? What if the love is just gone?" A rush of undercurrent fear swept through her, but she held on to a small ember of hope. "Then we create something new. We don't have to be trapped by our past." Andrew's gaze softened. "That's a lot to ask for, but I'm willing to try. For Ethan. For us." She felt the ground beneath them shifting. Would this be the change they both longed for? A new chapter began to unfold, yet a question danced in the air, electrifying and precarious. Could they navigate the rocky terrain of their past to paint a brighter future, or were they only setting themselves up for failure? As they lingered in that charged space, insecurities loomed large, the uncertainty of reconciliation waiting in the wings. "Let us make a promise," Sarah said, her voice steadying. "Whatever happens, we'll keep talking. No more walls." He nodded, a new determination sparking in his eyes. "No more walls. Just honesty." The pledges hung between them like an invisible thread, binding them to this moment. Questing into the unknown. But would they be able to handle the truths they discovered together? As she watched the shadows cast by the setting sun stretch across the ground, she could almost feel the weight of those unturned stones. What lay hidden beneath? And as they both stood there, Sarah thought maybe, just maybe, this was the first significant step towards something truly transformative. But the question lingered, were they ready to unearth the buried truths of their hearts, or would those truths once again tear them apart? As the laughter faded and sunlight cast a warm glow over the sunset, Sarah felt a surge of hope swell within her. Standing next to Andrew, they were on the edge of something renewed, a chance to rekindle what had once been so vibrant between them. She gripped her hands tightly, filled with anticipation and uncertainty. "We've got to start somewhere," she whispered, her heart thumping against her chest. "Let us try to be honest," Andrew replied, his tone softer now. "Wherever this takes us, I just want to make sure Ethan knows we are here for him, not just as parents, but as partners again." They both turned, watching Ethan bask in the moments of joy and carefree laughter alongside his friends. The warmth in his eyes mirrored all the love and dreams Sarah had once held for their family. "It starts with us showing him that love," she replied, feeling tears of determination gather in her eyes. "He needs to see us navigating this together." "Together," Andrew repeated, a small, tentative smile breaking through his earlier tension. Perhaps there was still time to mend their fractured family if they were willing to put in the work. As they walked back toward the crowd, Sarah took a deep breath, absorbing the vibrant colors of the celebration. The music floated gently, wrapping them in a soundscape filled with joy and storytelling. She noticed the genuine smiles, the laughter of children blending with parents who shared in the moment. Her heart warmed at the thought of her son of what lay ahead of them all. "Let us create a space where we can be open and rally our strength together," Andrew said, glancing over at her. "Not just for us, but for Ethan." "Yes," Sarah replied, excitement bubbling up. "What if we host family game nights? We can reconnect with each other and with the other families. We've got to bring the community together, too." "Great idea." Andrew's eyes lit up. "Before we know it, we'll have a whole neighborhood of support around us. We can learn from one another." A wave of determination washed over them, energizing Sarah and filling her spirit again. She had spent too long feeling like she was adrift. Now, they were stepping towards something solid, something hopeful. With just one idea hanging in the air, they were already turning the tide of their journey. Voices grew louder behind them as they neared Ethan, who stood eagerly waiting. "Any plans, you guys?" he asked, bouncing on his heels. "Yes," Sarah exclaimed, her voice bubbling over with excitement. "We want to start family game nights. Just imagine us all coming together, food, games, everything. Count me in." Ethan chirped, and their spirits soared as they exchanged laughter. Here it was the sound of a family finding its way back home, promising to heal together. As the party dwindled and the sky turned to deeper hues of blue and orange, Sarah turned to Andrew once more. "Tonight is just a step, but I truly feel that this could be a new beginning for us. If we keep our hearts open, we'll be okay." "Together," Andrew echoed with newfound resolve. He took her hand firmly, and together, as a united front, they faced the unfolding future. "Promise me," she said, her eyes locked onto his. "Whatever the hardships, we stay honest and open. No more drifting." Andrew nodded. "No more drifting. We are in this together every step forward." They shared a glance filled with understanding, finally ready to tackle the challenges ahead. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, a profound sense of progress enveloped Sarah's heart. Each sparkle felt like a stamp of approval from the universe, reminding her that hope could always find a way. And just beyond the hall, amidst the laughter of children and the stirring bonds of community, a new story was taking root, filled with laughter, honesty, and the steadfast promise of connection. With every step they took, they reclaimed a piece of what they had lost and nurtured it to flourish anew. Together, they would rise from the past, side by side with hearts open to love, resilience, and a bright tomorrow. It was now time for you to step forward too. You need to subscribe now to keep following incredible stories of transformation. Leave a like right now to boost our reach. Every click matters and only true fans understand how much it helps. Comment below with your feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this journey towards hope. Let us keep spreading the love.